right, our next subject is going to be about organic molecules. Now, organic molecules have carbon and hydrogen in them, technically. So if you took organic chemistry, you would be talking all about what they call hydrocarbons, and that is carbons that have hydrogens attached to them. But in biology, they also contain oxygen. So all of the molecules we're going to be talking about have all three. The typical hydrocarbon, though, is built with carbon and the hydrogens attached. We already went over methane. That is, we have carbon with, remember that carbon has 2 electrons in the first energy level and 4 in the outside or valence shell that can bond with, that is, covalently bond with hydrogens, 1 that is in its outer energy level. And they are then sharing electrons in their outer shells, making both of them very stable. So that's methane. If you look at carbon, though, carbon, I always kind of think of this as like a little tinker toy, one of those little balls that has 4 spaces for things to attach. And those things can either be other carbons, they can be hydrogens, or in fact, they can actually be other molecules altogether, and we'll go over what they are, and these are called functional groups, but we will go over them in just a minute. One of the things, though, if you looked at carbon, these are different ways to write it, but this is in your textbook in case you're not seeing this very clearly. But the different ways to write this are, you can have 1 carbon with the hydrogens attached, you can have 2, you can have double bonds. If you have double bonds, they tend to be somewhat bent sometimes, and so that gives the molecule a slightly different look. Notice that the carbon, like in this case, where you have the 3 hydrogens out here, it takes on a slightly different shape than it would if you just had the hydrogens attached at one point. However, so this is kind of like more what the shape would actually look like. This over here, this is another indication of the actual shape of the molecule. So you can have like various size changes. You can also have things like variations. So these are various sizes, just like we were talking about. You can also have branching. So these two are the same chemical formula, but because they're branched, they would act completely differently. Because remember, shape influences how a molecule is going to function. Likewise, these guys, you can have a molecule in this case where it has different amounts of hydrogen, and the hydrogens are attached in different places, and that makes for double bonds in different locations, and the double bonds oftentimes make a molecule bend somewhat. And then you can also have them in rings, and if you have them in rings, things are going to act a lot differently than if they were a non-ring format. Okay, the functional groups that we were talking about, this is in the handout, but it's also, so you should go through the handout by yourself. But I'm just going to kind of briefly go over some of these functional groups. I should have a better one of these, so I'm going to go look for it.